everyone come out today to celebrate, network, exchange information, contacts, ideas, to come up with resolution solutions to our multi-layered disparities within our community. Our health is truly our wealth. With that, we would like to start the program, officially starting right now with the introduction. We would like to introduce Dr. John Klein. He is the Program Director of the Louisville Clinical and Translational Center, the Administrative Core Lead, and the Interim Vice President for Research and Innovation. He has a long record of successful leadership positions and continuous external federal PI funding for his research focused on biomarkers of autoimmune. And this includes the autoimmune kidney diseases since 1990. In his role as program director, he will be working in partnership with Dr. Wong, Deputy Program Director here at U of L, and Dr. Cunningham, Chief Operating Officer. Let us give him a warm welcome.
I was talking to Dr. Kidd and Dr. Brown before we got started, and as we started with a few people and more people walked in, I said that I was going to fall down in a dead faint if we had over 50 people doing this. I'm pretty lightheaded right now. This is a wonderful gathering. I have 5 minutes to tell you about this program. I really want to just give you a very light overview of what we're here doing. And I have to tell you, this goes back to the year 2006. When that young man over there with the mustache, Dr. Craig McLean, began trying to develop a clinical research center that would have its roots in the community. We applied to the National Institutes of Health over the last 18 years. We don't go away real easy in Louisville. But that was not for the lack of trying. We stayed with it, and finally this year, we received the grant that we've been trying to get for approximately 18 years. So, what is it? It is to build a relationship with the community in the area of clinical research that addresses your concerns and helps you explore your ideas. This is a very unique process in the National Institutes of Health. This is a true bidirectional research center, and community engagement and outreach is a part of all of the cores that make up this program. So we've embedded this outreach in every single thing we do, as you'll hear from the core directors that are speaking this evening. We are engaged here in Louisville, in the West End, in the South End, and then we also are developing a relationship with Owensboro Health so that we have a rural outreach program as well. So we're going to try and cover all facets of society and address the disparities that exist in all populations, both rural and urban. Because when all is said and done, disparities are disparities. They're unique in some ways, but in other ways, they're very common. So we have a 5-year grant. We have, thanks to the generosity and the wisdom of President Chancel, we have $23.5 million over the next 5 years to invest in building the infrastructure, building the outreach, granting pilot grants, and above all, building the infrastructure to listen to you so that your ideas and your concepts about health disparities are what is explored. And ultimately, what we hope to see are what we call citizen scientists. People in the community who have ideas, who know what's best about the disparities in their community, who are then paired with people at the university to do the research, to become scientists yourselves. This is the dream. This is the goal. So I thank you all for coming here this evening. It's a tremendous turnout. As we begin to stand up this Community Advisory Board, I hope all of you will continue to actively participate. And thank you so much for being here.
Let's give it up for Dr. John Klein for being part of this phenomenal journey. It truly does take a team coming from all levels, from academia, scientific research, as well as all our major stakeholders, including our community, because we are the village. And at the end of the day, it's all about we making the difference. Thank you once again for being here. The reason for the season on why you're here, along with all these magnificent co-directors, collaborators, research scientists. Let me tell you about this phenomenal genius, Dr. Lucrease Renee Kidd. PhD from MIT. All right, let's acknowledge, we give credit where it's due. MPH from Johns Hopkins. Court co-leader, endowed chair in cancer health disparities research in the Brown Cancer Center, and highly esteemed, I must add, associate professor in pharmacology and toxicology, assistant dean for research diversity in the School of Medicine, with a special focus on recruitment and retention. In addition, professional development, Dr. Kidd served as the PI, that's the principal investigator. In case I'm just saying, not everybody knows all these elaborate. Anyway, because we are about education, correct? You are at a higher school of learning called the university, and the University of Louisville, to be exact. As I was saying, as the PI of the WIN Clinical Investigator Pathway Program, which focuses on community-engaged clinical research, Dr. Kidd will coordinate oversight of West and South Louisville programs and help stakeholders in identifying as well as prioritizing community needs and research interests. She will coordinate with all of the core leads to provide researchers and citizen scientists with training in community-led, community-based participatory research and cultural respect. Dr. Kidd will co-lead the community engagement and outreach core in the partnership with Dr. Kelly Bullard Dunn, Professor of Surgery and Vice Dean of Community Engagement and Diversity. And with no further ado, I call Dr. Lucrease Renee Kidd, PhD, MPH, to the podium. Let's give her a applause. as you heard the doctor say earlier, after 18 plus years, she finally got it done. At $12 million grant for community outreach to serve our communities disparities.
That's me.
All right? Dedication and tenacity to get it done along with her cohorts and her fellow research scientists, professors.
Okay, I hope I can exceed the expectations of the barometer that my number one high performer has set before. But it definitely does take a team. It definitely takes a team effort, and it takes some leadership. So we are definitely indebted to Dr. Joan Klein for leading this mission and vision and putting together a group of amazing people to have put this grant together. I'm going to specifically talk to you about the community engagement and outreach core. This core is co-led by myself and my colleague, Dr. Kelly Bullard Dunn, and she's a professor of surgery and medicine. She's also the Vice Dean of Community Engagement and Diversity. And we're flanked by two co-investigators, Dr. Dwayne Compton, and he is the Associate Dean of Community Engagement and Diversity. And then we have Dr. R. Brett Wright, who's the Associate Dean of Rural Health Innovation. We are looking eventually to have some other team members. In fact, we have a position posted for a community health research coordinator. I know some of you have already applied for the position. We'll keep that position open for about 1 more week, and then we'll start the interviews for either later this month, early October. We also will look to add community health workers. These will be part-time positions, and then also student assistants. So definitely remain on the lookout for those positions. Some of the goals of the community engagement and outreach are to improve the overall health and well-being of West and South Louisville residents. I'm thinking with like a focus on addressing some of the health inequities and health disparity issues. And we want to do this in part by raising awareness in terms of community needs, helping to set priorities in terms of the health needs, and then just learning more about potential health research interests and input. Then we also want to help to really improve access to relevant research. I think last summer we had a medical student who came through our WIN Clinical Investigative Pathway program. He actually interacted with a lot of our cancer survivors. If y'all could raise your hands that are in the audience, everyone can see you. Yes. But the student came and had hi Kristen. Kristen, she's part of Play Cousins. They're providing the child care and enrichment in room 125 for this event, so thank you. Anyway, this student interacted with some of the cancer survivors, and what he learned from his summer research project is that some of our colleagues of the clinicians are not even inviting African Americans to clinical trials, or they have clinical trials that are not relevant to the needs of the community. So that's an easy area that we can address together. Next, we want to address the needs of at-risk subgroups, and part of this involves including health education and health literacy information, and also trying to address some of the trust issues that might exist. because some people in the community, they may be less willing to engage with research opportunities because they've simply lost a sense of trust in the healthcare system, and that's understandable. So we definitely want to work together to build that trust. In terms of the specific aims, we want to promote the understanding of community health needs, their concerns, and begin to set some research priorities. And we also want to share knowledge. So we don't just want to come into the community, do research, and then walk away with the results. We definitely want to, first and foremost, have the community give some input in terms of what some of the research agenda is once the research is formulated, with not only some of the scientists that you see in this room, but also some of the community members who can become what we are terming citizen scientists. So you will learn the methodological approach to address some of the issues that are going on in your community. Anyway, a lot of times when research is gathered, that information pretty much stays with the scientists. What we're hoping to do is to work with you so that we can convey that information in a way that is what they say linguistically appropriate, meaning it's stated in a way or presented in a way that everyone can consume that information. And so that might mean that instead of having just words, we might have to have some visual aids to go along with it. Might have to create little videos or whatever. And then we also want to develop and support community-led and clinical investigator-initiated community-based participatory research. How can you get involved? Many of you have already invited volunteer to join the Community Advisory Board, or at least express interest in it. You can also participate in a community knowledge exchange session. This is an opportunity where some of the researchers and citizen scientists can maybe present a research idea, and then you can give them some input before they actually implement the research. And then once the research is completed, the researchers and citizen scientists can have an opportunity to share the results with you. We would also like to have community liaisons. This can come in the form of community health research coordinators, or CHRC, community health workers, CHW, and student assistants. So these will be individuals that can serve as the bridge between the academia and the community. Your job would be to be a voice for the community, and to help us, because we as scientists, we speak a certain language. Sometimes we are able to bring things down a couple of notches, maybe even a few notches, but we will need you guys to keep us on point and make sure that we... Exactly. I have two more minutes and a lot more information to get through. But let me say that there are just many ways that you can get involved in community engagement. The main thing is that we just want to make sure that there is this multi-directional exchange of information between academia and all of our stakeholders. And I don't know, I think I've talked a lot about different other ways that you can get involved. But one thing that I alluded to, the citizen scientists, you can help set research priorities, help really identify what the community needs are and health concerns are. Because we, as the quote scientists, we can kind of tell you what the priorities are, but that wouldn't be so nice, right? To get buy-in, we would need you really involved on the front end to help us to define what the needs are, and then we can go from there. Listen, you guys have already participated in the survey, whether you know it or not. Many of you have signed up for our guest list. And I was pleasantly surprised that 47 of you said that you're interested in serving on the Community Advisory Board. 22 of you said that you'd like to give input in terms of research. 24 of you would like to be citizen scientists. So 25 of you said you want to participate in research studies. I mean, you can continue to read down the list if you like. I think I'll just send this presentation out to you guys so y'all can have a record of it. The bottom line is we want the community, right, to be at the center of everything that we do in terms of the Louisville Clinical Translational Research Center. Again, we do have a couple of job opportunities. Definitely look out for these. One position, the Community Health Research Coordinator, that is currently on the University of Louisville website, so you can take a look at that. If you know of any students at the University of Louisville, yes, we need some college work study students. So you can send them our way. And then yeah, we're looking to hire some student assistants as well. I'm going to talk a little bit now. Our core, we do not, the Community Engagement and Outreach Core, we do not operate in a vacuum. We interact with all of the cores within the center. So on behalf of my colleague who was here, Dr. Palmer, he has another engagement. So I'm just going to quickly go over his core. His core is, there are two co-directors, Dr. Maxwell Boyaki and Dr. Kenneth Palmer. And they have team members, Christy Tretman, who is the medical instructional designer, and then they have like a whole team of individuals who will be heavily involved in a lot of professional development activities. Their specific aims, well, in short, what they're looking to do is to professionally develop early stage investigators. So these would be medical students, so students who are working on their MD, PhD, as well as junior faculty. But you might be wondering, well, what the heck does this have to do with you as a community? See, now these can be some of the partners that you could work with on some of the projects that you want to propose, or these will be the people that you may give some input about their research either on the front end or the back end. And then just briefly tell you about the research design and compliance and data management core. This core is led by Dr. Kong, and she's flanked by Rachel Shepard, who's I think she's in the room right in the back there. She's the executive director of the clinical trials unit. Definitely give her a big applause. This another team member is Dr. Christopher Cunningham, the director of operations of clinical trials unit, and he's also the chief operating officer of this center, so yeah, he's our go-to person. So that's definitely good. A lot of data, right, is going to be collected among all of the scientists, all of the citizen scientists, and so they will be the ones that will help us with the analysis of the data, okay? But there may be some questions, right, where you might want to utilize available data sets that are just, I don't know, you might want to look at Medicare data to kind of help you to understand what's going on in the West End, and whether there are some inequities there. And so this is a core that you would be able to have access to be able to get any additional information to help set research priorities, let's say. Oh, wow, that was quick. Next I'm going to turn the podium back over to Dr. Angela Jackson Brown, who is going to introduce our next speaker. Thank you.
appreciative of all the members that are engaged in, collaborating with, as well as intersecting with our community on all levels. Again, once again, let's give it up for Dr. LaPriest. He did a phenomenal job of outlaying everything that is involved. I would like to introduce our next guest speaker. The Health Research Corps is led by Dr. Craig McLean, a clinician scientist with vast experience in both clinical and bench research. Dr. McLean is a practicing hepatologist and professor of medicine and pharmacology and toxicology. Distinguished University Scholar, Associate Vice President for Translational Research, Associate Vice President for Health Affairs Research at the University of Louisville. Dr. McLean will lead the Health Research Corps in partnership with his co-director, Dr. Matt Cave, Professor of Medicine, Biochemistry, and Molecular Genetics, and Pharmacology and Toxicology, as well as the Vice Chair for Research. Let's give a warm welcome for Dr. Craig McLean.
Thanks for that wonderful introduction. I wish my mother could have heard that. So, I have a weak voice. I got my cancer treated here at the Brown Cancer Center with throat cancer. I'm cured, but my voice gets a little weak if I talk too much, and I've been seeing veterans in clinic all day today. And a hepatologist is a liver doctor, if you haven't figured that out. So, I think we have the most important core because we're the people that give money away. So that's very important. So we've got 4 specific aims, but the two first ones are the most important ones. So the first one is giving out pilot projects. And so that's to test smaller ideas over a year period of time. The second one is to give developmental projects, which are bigger awards over a 2-year period of time. So the first aim, again, is the pilot projects for 1 year, and we give 6 the first year and 4 thereafter. And that can be for a trainee or a junior faculty member or somebody as a citizen scientist working with somebody at U of L on the faculty. The second aim is to give away these developmental projects, which are for 2 years. And again, this can be somebody from the community working with somebody on the faculty at U of L. Now, why is this important? And I have this cartoon at the bottom. So, I'm 78. Somebody needs to come in and take my job. I don't know how old Dr. Klein is, but I think he's over 60. So, we created a system where we will start funding faculty actually before they even become faculty, when they're trainees. And we have a system now that will take it all the way to when they get one of these career development awards. And so the importance of that is John and I need to have people coming in to replace us, and there are not enough people going into academic medicine right now. These types of awards will help fix that, and you need doctors to take care of all of you. We're going to get more and more minority doctors into these programs.
That's right. Let's give it up.
Actually, I just put Latrice on my advisory board. She needs to send me her CV for a big grant that we already have. And again, it's to get more minorities into roles in these grants. So I'm also on the external advisory board to the Louisiana grant that is just like this one, only it was one of the first ones in existence. And one of the things that they're most proud of, and the reason that they are incredibly successful, is you talked about clinical trials.
Right.
48% of their participants in clinical trials are African American. No other place around the country does that. We want to be that good.
Right on. Right on. Let's give it up, Opie. For the incredible work that Dr. Craig McLean and his cohorts are doing right here in the village. We'll next like to invite all the board speakers, scientists to come to the table where we will open up for questions and answers. Feel free, you could come up or you could write down. If you do not feel like speaking, I'll be happy to be the voice and advocate for whatever it is that you might have a question to present to our panel. Again, we want to thank our speakers and core team members for taking time out to come out, show up, as well as initiate this wonderful 5-year, $12 million grant award project.
So thank you all for putting this together. And I'm going to actually ask the bishop that's here to decipher what I'm trying to say, because I'm fairly young, and he's been an activist. So I want him to discern what I'm saying and add to it. We have traditionally been the lab rat. We have traditionally been the research and taken for what can be extracted from us. And so some people would call you a token. I call you a change agent. But my question is, and Bishop will clean it up.
She's got nickel collaborators. All right.
But there's with merit, you mentioned the trust. And so there's a lot of history of why that trust is not there. So my question for the panel is, how do you plan to rebuild that trust? Why should the community trust this project?
Would anyone like to first address that question?
Well,
We thank you for your question.
I'll start just to kind of warm things up a little bit.
Okay.
But, okay, so I've been in research here at the university for 20 years. And what I am seeing from my research is that there are not enough of us participating in studies. So I look at how genes can play a role in predicting outcomes as it relates to cancer. And what I find is that there are a lot of databases that involve white individuals, but not nearly enough for whites. And you can't use the genetic profile of whites as an indicator for what's going on in blacks. And also in terms of like clinical trial research, I indicated before that a lot of times like we're not invited into the trials, or the trials are not suitable for our particular health needs. Or we simply don't know how to ask about the trials. And that seriously affects our survival rates in a negative way, okay? As far as the trust issue, how we plan on dealing with that, the transparency. So I talked about a lot of times researchers will collect data and we just keep it to ourselves. So what we're offering is to share that information with you. We're also suggesting that instead of, us just doing business as usual, no, we want to consider the community's health needs, health concerns, health priorities, and include that on the front end in the research. So really to have that even exchange. And I also learned something from one of our community partners from Play Cousins. She said to me, you guys are not going to empower us because we have the power already. So the most that you can do is help elevate the power that we already have. But more important than that, we have to have an even exchange of information. We can learn from as much from you guys as you can learn from us. So there has to be, in everything that we do, there has to be mutual respect. I don't know if any one of my colleagues want to.
And this is truly about teamwork. Does make the dream work.
I will just
We
add,
are the village.
yes, I will just add to Dr. Kidd's comments. She and I are the co-leads of the Community Engagement Corps, and just this gathering tonight is the first step, but it is not the only step. Another of my colleagues, Dr. Faye Jones, likes to say, this is not about rebuilding trust. This is about building trust.
Absolutely.
There's no about it. This is about building trust. So this is a first step, because what we want to do is hear from you. What are your questions? What questions do you have about your health, about science, about things? Do we have people at the university who are already trying to answer those questions in some ways? Are there better ways to answer them? Are there questions that you have that we haven't thought of that we ought to be asking? And then, as you help us to know what questions to ask, we can then ask you, how would your community like us to address those with you? We can design the experiments, and then we take them to you, and you say, that's not going to work. Okay, help us redesign it so it will work. And then you participate, we reach out to you, we find out some of the answers, and then we come back to you and say, hey, here are the answers that we've gotten. What's the next question? So I just wanted to build on, I agree completely with everything Dr. Kidd said, but I do want to emphasize that tonight's gathering is amazing, and it is the first step, but it is only the first step, and it is not the last step. And we plan to engage you all the way along in all the course.
Thank you for that. This is just a beginning.
Another incredibly important thing in participating in clinical trials is what we've learned. I've been doing these since the 1970s, and probably 10 or 15 years ago, we figured out it was very important to include women in clinical trials because they actually responded to things differently than men. Now we know there are all different types of genetic variations, and they will cause you to respond differently to cancer trials. I do liver disease, liver trials. I do a lot of work in obesity, and there we know it's not even your genetics, it's your gut bacteria's genetics that actually play a huge role in whether you can lose weight or not. And so if you don't participate in these clinical trials, you'll never learn about what's most important for you.
And this is so true. It's all about your gut health.
So I'll try and sum up. Trust is earned. It's not given freely. It's earned. If this program earns your trust, then we'll be successful. If we fail to earn your trust, then we will be a failure. We all feel please excuse me, we feel the burden of history on our shoulders. Go back to Tuskegee. What I call scientific redlining. The way that people were excluded from scientific studies. This is the burden of history of things we did wrong. We will not fix this overnight, but this group, which I have a lot of confidence in, is dedicated and absolutely convinced that we can earn the respect and the trust that you have to give us if we're going to succeed. So, journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Tonight's just one step. And if we keep showing up, then you'll begin to understand that we're serious about this and that we're sincere. If we don't show up, well, then shame on us, and please let us know that we have failed you.
So appreciative of your acknowledgement.
Hello, is this on? Okay, hello, we on. Just open to the panel here, just the perspectives anybody can answer of what we're facing up against Kentucky, but in particular Louisville, West Louisville, some of the health disparities. I believe upwards, black male who lives in the 3 zip codes that primarily make up the West, live upwards of like 20-something year odds less of a life than a white male or East Louisville. Just if and then how that ties into with some of the aims that we talked about earlier. Like just if anybody wants to lay out like what are we going up against here? The nation as a whole, but also in particular the communities that will be affected by this work.
Thank you. Thank you for your remarks. Anyone else? Right over here, Vanessa.
Anybody gonna answer?
A question, right over here.
He
had a question.
He had a question.
No, I don't think answering.
Yes.
I'll put it towards the panel.
Okay. Back to the panel.
So, the difference in life expectancy between zip codes is exactly what you said. There are so many different reasons as to why that happens. A lot of it is because people live in food deserts and eat unnutritious and unhealthy food. A lot of it is that people live closer to the sources of chemical pollution that affects their life expectancy. The entire environment, everything we consume, everything we're exposed to, is the cause of those disparities that you're talking about. Some of the projects that we already have underway at the university examine those issues, and they don't necessarily go to the source of the people who are most affected. We're the conduit. This program is the conduit to allow them to engage with the communities who are most affected. And put it bluntly, the ones whose lives are being cut short because of those issues. This is the mechanism for us to engage the community and for the community to bring its ideas to the scientists. And that's really what we are. There's no one scientist who runs this operation. It's really a structure that allows the free exchange of ideas between the community and the university to try and narrow that life expectancy gap. We just finished in a different area. We just finished our strategic plan for research for the university, and exactly your question is written into that strategic plan, that one of the goals of this university for the next 5 years is to understand the the lifespan disparities that exist and how to begin to address that and to change that and to make it right.
Thank you.
Thank you. I did want to get a chance for one of the team members to introduce himself. He actually left clinic to come here, so have to give him a.
Well, we appreciate that, you taking time.
Thank you. My name is In Kim. I'm the Executive Vice Chair of Pediatrics. For this group, I'm serving as the Chief Financial Officer for the project. And thank you, all of you, for coming this evening. This is a fantastic turnout. And Chris, thank you for organizing.
We thank you for coming. Give it up. Give it up. Thank you for joining us.
My main concern is the communication between the educated and the uneducated. I probably don't need it anyway. Oh my God. Well, I gotta put my hands on it, but I put my mouth on this. But I have found in my 37 years in the hospital field that we have a problem communicating with one another. There needs to be a plan that is laid out, that when you're speaking to people of color, that they know what's next. They need to know what's next. They need to be talked to like humans, not like specimens, not like illiterates and uneducated, but just people. And if you can't break it down, then that's where you would need to have a liaison that could intermediate between the both. And that would be greatly helpful. But first and foremost, in talking to African American people, they just want the same thing you want: respect.
Respect gets respect. It's about advocating and teaching. Thank you, Vanessa. We'll go to the panel to address Vanessa.
How you doing? I'm Dr. Swanee Jett. I'm the CEO for Park the Ball, also faculty member at U of L. So, I understand the academic level because I'm a professor as well, and being the CEO of Park the Ball. So, we will continue Park the Ball to be the voice of the West End and to make sure that the research that's going on is translated in the appropriate form that you understand. Because there's a lot of research going on, and the West End has constantly been tested upon and also not into clinical trials as they should. Not only for women, but mainly for African American men. And the question never got answered about the life expectancy, which is still low for African American men in this community, off by 20 years. And has been since I developed the Office of Men's Health for the mayor back in the early 2000s. So I'm willing to be that liaison and voice, and you could always use Park the Ball Community Health Centers as that liaison for the community.
Well, I'd like to work with you.
Thank you so much.
Hello. No business attire today. My name is Elisha Johnson. I'm the CEO of Begin to Talk LLC, and I'm a mental health therapist. We do a lot of work within the community and also lead the mental health advisory board underneath the Louisville Urban League.
Speak up.
Oh, I can speak up, but let me just go on and stand up. All right, so my name is Elisha Johnson with the Begin to Talk LLC. I'm the CEO. I'm also a mental health therapist. And when my background is really focused in research, that's my love, my fundamental love from student on, right? But understanding the methodology of research and understanding how to go into our communities is some work that we've done before, and very interested in partnering to continue that work. One of the things that I see when we're talking about research is not just gathering the data to then be able to be transparent, but a lot of the times we understand the issues that we go through, right? And we are literally the experts in the situation. And so putting that on paper is good. However, the resources and the things that we need because of the disparities that we have is often overlooked, right? So when I see the opportunity for projects, when I see those opportunities, are some of those opportunities that you are giving for projects, are those for intervention type of services for the disparities, or is it just to research more? Because if we are going to do this work and then we're able to give the services needed directly to our community as an output of this particular research, that's what I'm thinking is going on here. But a lot of times, just me being in research from before, we service ourselves, right? A lot of us will be the ones to pick up the articles that are published, and it won't necessarily be translated over to the community. So that is what I'm asking here, is what type of intervention services, because now I was on the student end, right? Now I'm on the professional end. And so what type of intervention opportunities do you have for our community organizations that know the answer, but don't have a direct access to the resources that we need to heal us?
So we're talking about solutions.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
On a multidisciplinary level, holistically.
And you know, I'm
We love you. Thank you.
I'll give you a mental health back then.
All right, come
So I said I was on the Louisiana External Advisory Board, so they just had a grant, a small community grant, and it was looking at burnout in firefighters, which was huge in Louisiana, and they were looking at what are the best ways of preventing that and what are the mental health ways of treating that. So that originated in the community and came to the university to figure out a way of fixing it.
So is there an opportunity to give for intervention services? Or is there an opportunity to fund that?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Let me ask you a question. Thank you. I'm Bishop Lyons of the Gospel Missionary Church, also with the Lyons Funeral Home and community.
I would like to announce that this will be the last question. We will be wrapping it up shortly after this last question. The panel has a chance to answer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, again, I'm Bishop Lyons of the Gospel Missionary Church in Barcelona, and also the Bishop's Table, which gathers leaders of the community every Friday for the last 3 years. Every Friday, we meet at my church as a community leaders, and I'm kind of feel like that I'm in a fight without no backup, because I don't see another preacher, pastor.
Well, I'm a reverend as well as a priestess, so you got one right here.
Okay. And what I'm saying is that our community definitely has always traditionally been led by the church. And one of the things that I think that we have been suffering from is sometimes those of academia, they start at the top and work their way to us on the corner of the street. And I'm wondering, is this project, which is why I see her at the table, starting, seem like from the neighborhood, and she brought us up to the top. And I'm wondering, is that the plan, the diagram of this? And then number two, I would like to suggest also that this committee study also the murder. I don't know y'all doing with the help. I don't know what the help got anything with us having 139 shootings and we killing one another, and it's like it all seems to be of our ethnicity. When that's going to be included in this study of the killing of blacks against blacks. And are we going to be able to admit to one another, even us in the community, be able to admit by giving truth to these researchers, because sometimes when they come around, we don't really give the truth to you all so you can get the real.
That's true.
Yeah,
But
we scared. We give, you know, have you ever did this? Have you ever did this? Have you ever felt that? We don't give it. So that's where we have to be willing to admit to one another. Number two is that we need to be willing to submit, because sometimes you are not willing to submit to us. We'll tell you that this is what's hurting, And your studies ain't saying it, but we keep telling you, and you're not willing to submit because we're not on your educational level. So I wonder if y'all gonna be willing to submit. Admit, yes, but then submit to us like we submit to you. And then thirdly, the thing that I see that high echelon entities have a problem of doing is committing to us. As long as it's going their way, they'll hang in. But when it don't go their way, they stop. So is there going to be a commitment that even when we are right, you're going to still commit to doing what you're doing? And even when it seems like we're wrong, we're going to commit to hang in there and work this thing through. And are y'all willing to trust who we trust? If we trust her, then the entity need to trust her and give her the resources to do what she knows need to be doing at the bishop's table. God bless you.
We'll talk about that.
Was a really loaded down question. So I think the first one has to do with gun violence in the community. That is a really big issue. The way I understand the grant, I think it has to deal with trying to deal with more of the chronic disease issues. So things like diabetes, cancer, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, heart disease, the opioid problem. But given my community engagement hat, I do understand that there can be certain barriers to the participation in research. And one of those things, the community might decide that one of those barriers is gun violence. So what I would propose in that sense, form a committee, and y'all deal with gun violence. In terms of submission, I don't know if I like that word, but I do like the words respect, and I like the words exchange of information. And listen, we don't have all the answers, but we're going to build this thing together with respect, with open communication, well, what we're terming multi-directional communication, where we can learn from each other. No, we are not the expert at all things. We are looking for you to learn some things as well, so we can build this thing together and make sure that this grant gets renewed every 5 years moving forward, so we can continue to bring some of our young people in the community and bring them up as scientists.
This is a mutual
like Dr.
collaboration.
McClain said, he's going to retire soon, so we need to fill his seat, right? All right, one more thing.
We have one more last question. And keep in mind, this is a two-way street.
I'm gonna try to make this quick, but this young lady sitting right here, she's been had her hand up for about a half an hour. So I'm gonna ask that you let her speak, but I wanna say this about Dr. LaCrease Kidd. It's something that I don't understand. Number one, I've been around LaCrease for years, her family, helping her out with all kind of stuff. And hold your head up, LaCrease, because I'm gonna get into it. I have witnessed her writing proposals for weeks, months, weeks, months, weeks, months.
And years.
Yes, and years. And being successful. Otherwise, she wouldn't be here.
Exactly.
The next thing is, she's a scientist. And what I think about a scientist is, they're in the lab coming up with some cures. So I'm saying, wait a minute. You're writing all these proposals, but you're a scientist. But it seems like you don't have time to be a scientist because you're writing proposals. Does that make any sense to anybody?
Okay.
Okay, hold on. But I'm just saying that her mind Hold on, Lucretia.
Trust me, she is a
Hold on, hold on,
multitasker,
hold
and
on.
she's able to do both
Hold
very well.
on, this is me talking.
Yes.
What I'm saying to you is Dr. Lucretia Kidd has cures in her head. Her mind is beyond writing a paper. And I would like for you all to explore her mind more. Thank you.
With that said, well put, she is a genius.
We wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, before today, I mean, when I came in and even before today, after being here today, this was all like Charlie Brown to me. Womp, 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 womp. I don't know about some of you other. I'm just Johnetta Q citizens. But anyway, I think communication between all these organizations and our doctors, our facilities, health facilities that we attend in our communities, Park Duval or wherever we go for health services. Because to be honest, I can't name on 2 fingers how many times clinical trials have been brought up or has even been expressed through, I live in PRP, but it doesn't matter how many times it's advertised or spoken out to the community where we can know of, unless like, I'm in KAC, but otherwise, and then we get an email about it. Otherwise, the regular citizens don't get to get the information. We don't know about all these clinical trials. I have family that had autoimmune problems and that had 2 liver transplants and stuff. I never once that we heard about, since then going through this. I'm a cancer survivor. Now, only through me having cancer and going to KAC and such, have I heard about clinical trials. But otherwise, in our communities, none of the clinical trials and what these, what your group, the core group and all is doing is not announced out. So it needs to be advertised or put out more, is what I'm saying.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you. And I really agree with what you're saying, and I alluded to that. This medical student that we had last year, he worked with KAYAK, which stands for Kentucky African Americans Against Cancer, directed by Virginia Bradford. Connie Sorrell, she left, but she's over the Kentucky Cancer Program. Anyway, and you are absolutely correct. There's not enough information in terms of informing African Americans, people of color, about clinical trial research. And so we hope to address that issue through not only the community engagement and outreach core, but also through community partnerships, as well as using different forms of communication. So some of that might be meetings like this, where we can convey information. We might have to have short video clips and just shower social media with, so we'll have to use different formats of communication. We even had a Louisville Defender here. Maybe we can get information out through the newspaper, because I know a lot of the African Americans, they still read the newspaper. So I don't know if any of my colleagues want to have a last word, and then we'll close out. Oh, one thing. Okay, so this is a grant. We have to be held accountable. I need everybody to scan the QR code, get out your cell phone, take a quick survey. I promise you it will only take about a minute. And also, there should be a sign-in sheet at your desk. Make sure everyone signed in. Excellent. So yeah, just fill out the survey if you have not done so already. And anybody who knows me, if I check my list and I check it twice and you didn't complete the survey, I'm gonna get in touch with you to complete the survey. And I'm gonna keep emailing you until I get your response.
And we really appreciate it, because it's all about you.
Would you like?
It really is. And we need that information so we could better serve our community. We'll allow our panel to go ahead and address
And if
the
anyone needs
question.
help with the QR code,
The survey responses are in reverse order, which I almost got mixed up.
Oh, yes it is.
So it
If you
starts
need any
with-
help with filling out the
starts with strongly
survey,
disagree.
we have our people that will come around, just raise your hands. Does anyone need any help?
Yeah, if you need any help reading the survey, just raise your hand. Because maybe if the font might be a little too small. And then just make sure that if you strongly agree, you'll have to scroll down, so yeah. The more favorable response is further down. Okay, I'll let Dr. Jonathan have the last word.
Actually, all I want to say is thank you very much for coming. This project...
Down a little bit so we can hear it.
Oh, I can be louder. I raised 2 daughters.
Yeah.
I can be loud. Okay, so all I really want to do is thank you very much for coming here today. We heard a lot of important things today, and I think probably for me personally, the most important one came from this lady right over here. The importance of communication and how we spread information. And so the first thing I'm going to ask Dr. Kidd and her partner, Dr. Dunn, to do is to begin to assess what you think is the best way for you to receive information. And so we're going to hear some that want to get it through the Louisville Defender. We're going to hear some people, younger people are going to say, well, I want TikTok.
Yeah.
Okay? I want apps. But we need to know the ways that you access information. And that's the first step towards this relationship. So thank you so much for educating us tonight. And that really is all that I wanted to say other than thank you, thank you, thank you. And we'll be around to meet you and to answer any questions that you might not want to get up in front of everybody to ask and just want to ask directly. So thank you.
Thank you.